You're listening to the We Need to Talk podcast, and we are your hosts, Salem, Shannon, and Megan Beaver. Two millennial moms, ambitious professionals, an interior designer, and a business executive. Join us for conversations that unravel all the things that not only hold us together, but sometimes fall apart. If you're looking to laugh, cry, and be inspired while keeping it real, you're in the right place. Grab your drink. We need to talk.
Good evening, Salem.
Good evening.
How have you been?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Excited to talk today about friendship. And I think maybe friendship in a better term, as in like as millennial moms or in this season of life that we're in, and what it kind of looks like, and expectations or no expectations, and what the goal of friendship is actually supposed to be, right?
Right.
So I had this conversation with a couple of friends recently, like in different settings and at different times, about how, I have this really strong opinion about friendship being something that doesn't have expectations tied to it, or maybe necessarily kind of like the quid pro quo. And something something a little bit more transactional versus a relationship that's purely based on connection. And it just got my wheels turning for a conversation with you.
Yeah. Because I feel like we truly don't have any, we don't put any kind of expectations around our friendship whatsoever.
Yeah, I think that's where I got really hung up on it, because we were having a conversation, and it's so funny. It's one of my really close friends that I've been friends with for a really long time. I mean, it doesn't predate you. You're probably my longest standing friend that I have without expectations in general. But
Right.
She's been a friend of mine for a really long time, and they have a set of friends as well that we welcome into the group and stuff like that. But what's really interesting is there's a little bit of a friction there that is very transactional in the relationship, as far as like, hey, like we kind of expect to be invited if you're going to be doing something with someone else. And it's like, we fly by the seat of our pants sometimes on plans with our friends. So,
Right.
we live by an open door policy at our house. So it's like, if we're home, come by, our door's open to you. Right. And that's kind of how we operate in friendship as well. And it's not, I was telling her, I was like, there's just no expectation of, if I'm doing something and I ask you, that I expect you to say yes. It's a matter of if you can, and if you can't, guess what? No hard feelings.
Right.
So it's just, I've seen it quite a few times, and I've actually even seen, especially getting older and our girls are being older, and like being in these circles and these groups of friends with their friends, right? Some fallouts based on expectations, or unmet expectations, I guess you could say. And it's just been really interesting, and I've actually had a really hard time figuring it out, because I've never lived in that world of, I expect something from a friend who's just my friend.
Right. And I think just like even that sentence, like I expect something, whatever that something is, from my friend. Like, I don't know. I mean, that's so interesting. Like, as a friendship, I mean, I guess you have general expectations in that, you get along to a certain extent, and there's some sort of like connection there, right? To that makes you friends. But then beyond that, like, what expectations do you have for your friendship? I mean, I understand. I think we all have some expectations, but I think some people just take it to extremes. Does that make sense?
I agree. Yeah, and I think that it's kind of an unwritten rule of being able to trust somebody, or having like a confidant that you can like talk to, that it wouldn't go beyond the room, not in a form of gossip or anything like that, but just having the ability to be vulnerable to somebody is what I think.
Yes.
Is
like that. I
just
think that's like a definite, like, normal expectation to have with a friendship.
Yeah. And I don't even, I guess it could be considered an expectation, but it's all, I kind of feel like there's some rules to friendship, I guess, to keep it safe. I think that's what I see it as, right? I think it's when you start putting these additional expectations of like some type of transaction that I feel blurs the lines a little for me.
Right. 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 Yeah. And I
So,
think that's like, yeah, like you're saying, like there are some rules or maybe, or if you want to call them a rule or an expectation that like categorize and create like categorize the relationship as a friendship. But then once you take it beyond that, it's kind of interesting. And
yeah.
I'm trying to think if I have any like personal experiences, and I really haven't had anything too crazy, or at least nothing that's been confrontational. So maybe
Yeah.
maybe I accidentally like hurt somebody's feelings, but it's not like I did it on purpose. Like if I forgot to invite somebody or just didn't invite them, it's not like I intentionally did it. And I think it's harder too when you have like a bunch of different circles of friends, like where they're kind of compartmentalized and then sometimes they bleed over and then you have this like blend of like all the different groups. I think that's something that I struggle with because we have like several different like groups of friends. Does that make sense?
It does. So how do you handle that? Or like what how do you manage that?
Well, and I don't know that I'm managing it well. Like,
Is anybody?
I don't, well, hence we're having this conversation. Um, I don't know. I mean, like a good example. Okay, here's a good example. And this is just like this is something coming up and I'm thinking about like who to invite, right? Because I think that's where feelings get hurt or you like create an opportunity for somebody to be disappointed when they don't get invited, right?
Mm-hmm.
You like somebody to have their feelings hurt and nobody wants to have their feelings hurt. Um, and then sometimes like I don't get invited, like for me personally, if I don't get invited, I'm thinking, should my feelings be hurt? I currently don't feel wounded, but should I? And maybe that means I'm just like a bad or just like indifferent friend. I don't know, but like my child's birthday's coming up, and he's at an age where he doesn't necessarily have like super close friends, so we invite our friends.
Right.
And so you think about who to invite. Who wants to come to a child's birthday party, right? And so you think about all the different friend groups, and like in theory, we could have a big crowd if we wanted to. But I
Yeah.
mean, is that really necessary? And so inevitably, some people just aren't going to get invited because you think, do they really want to come? And then if you invite somebody to the birthday party, then they're obligated to get a gift. And then I feel because these kids, they get everything they want. It's not like he needs a bunch of toys. It's like, don't bring a gift, but people bring stuff anyways, because you feel that obligation. You don't want to be the person that actually listened and didn't bring something. So I don't know. I guess I don't know really where I'm going with that, but this is an example of an event coming up where I'm struggling with the who do you invite and who do you not invite and not hurt anybody's feelings.
Yeah. Oh, that's a really good example. Um, Having been there with younger kids at that time, it's very, looking back now, hindsight 2020, it's almost like just invite the friends that have kids around their age that are going to run around and wear each other out. um, and you can do, I don't know, that's a hard one. It's like you can do an open invite, but it's not like an obligation. It's so hard to tell them, like, look, like, I won't feel bad if you're not here because I get it. It's a toddler's birthday, you don't have
Right.
toddlers waddling around. So um, it's a hard one. That's a good example for sure. So have you landed on what you think you're going to do?
I'm probably just going to invite the people like close to us that have kids around the same age
Yeah.
and to just let it be what it
Yeah.
is.
Well, yeah, because that, I mean, you got to figure out how to keep the kids occupied. The parents will obviously be occupied with the kids, but then if there's people there that aren't with kids the same age or no kids at all, it's a lot. Or if there's family there and they're expecting like undivided attention it's just a lot. I get it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm definitely not I don't want to be in a situation where we're having multiple parties for different groups of people, like the
Mm-mm.
family party and then we have the friend party. Like, okay. Mm-mm.
Yeah. Yeah.
One party.
You're figuring out. Sounds like you're doing a good job.
Well, and I even struggle, like this is going to be really specific. So, if people who are anybody listening to the podcast who are like very close friends with me, they know like we go to the country club a lot. And so we have like a big group of friends, like especially when it comes to like, like kind of like holiday events or like let's just use Halloween for example. We all go on Halloween and we have a big group, like a huge group chat. Where we text in the group chat, everybody goes. But then we kind of have like this smaller like nucleus, let's say, within that group that we do stuff with more often. And
Like
I
your
think this is
core,
like one of
your
those
core group.
Yeah, like your core group.
Yeah.
And and we do stuff with them quite often. Like on the weekends, we're at each other's houses or, whatever. So we're hanging out outside of the club. And so
Yeah.
I think even in those situations, it's challenging to like when you've got like this core group within a larger group, like like you don't want to hurt anybody's feelings.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we're also not trying to get together with like 20 families every weekend.
Every weekend. That would be exhausting.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
I think that those are like some of my friend examples that I personally struggle with when you don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. And not that anybody's been confrontational. Nobody said, "Oh my gosh, Salem, you didn't invite me," or I mean, and I'm not necessarily the leader of the group, so it's not like. But you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. Yeah. You feel a little like you're not including people, even though it's not intentional. Yeah.
Right. Okay. I think I've taken this conversation down a weird spiral tangent.
Well, it's a good one though, because it's kind of like on the other side of that, are those friends almost expecting to be invited to everything? Even if there is an understanding of, even if they're kind of like, okay, well, this core group over here isn't really my core group or my closest friends. I think it's where it gets weird. Um, it's almost like an exchange for something to be a part of everything. And
Right.
I don't have the desire to be included in everything. Um, so it is interesting because I've been a part of something like that too on like a whole different scale of expectation, right? Kind of like
Right.
we're in this whole soccer world, and there was just a lot of friction one time with another soccer parent because um, our daughter wanted to change coaches, and it really hurt someone's feelings that she no longer wanted to be on a specific team. And it was kind of like, well, you're our friends, you're expected to be on our team forever. And I'm like, well, that's just not how life works. But
Right.
there's also, and like, it was super sad because the friendship ended over that expectation. Yeah. Yeah. And so it's kind of like ending a friendship over something that's not even, well, I guess something that small should not define your friendship or be the center of it, is what I'm trying to get at, I think. I thought it was supposed to be that we share community together. And that doesn't mean that we do everything together, but when we are together, we have a connection and we have a real relationship where we're able to trust each other and have conversations, and also sometimes not get along, but always because it's at the greater good of our family. I think that that's where I struggle because I have different expectations than others, you
Right.
know?
Right.
So,
And I think that comes down to well, I try to put myself like in those situations, like how would I react? Like, how would I, you know, like obviously you have to work through that as like a teaching moment for your child.
Yeah.
But I mean, like you said, that's not really how the real world works.
No, it's not. I think my biggest thing is like I appreciate like my closest friendships, and I hope a lot of people have the friendships where there is no expectation, right? It's kind of
Right.
like for you and me, like we talk almost every day, but there's no expectation of even like I live in a different town than you now. So it's like I don't have the expectation of us always being together on the weekends or being invited to all the things or you being invited to all the things down here. Like
Right.
we it's truly just because we connect and we communicate and it's actually even something that I'm proud of is kind of like we have this friendship that's ours in our own identity and sometimes separate from everything else around us, right?
Right. Right. And it's like a long standing friendship.
Yeah.
Like we've been friends for a long time.
Yeah, it's kind of
And
stood
so
the
I
test of
think like
time.
of course I have like something to say about that. But so looking up some information about friendship, the average looks like research is saying like the average American friendship lasts about like 17 years.
Wow.
That's a long time.
I need to do some math. We met um in middle school.
Yeah.
How long have we been out of high school? I think we've been friends longer than 17 years. Let me just put it that way.
I think, well, have we been,
Let's see.
do some math.
I,
You just
I
do that
think
math
we've been
there.
friends longer than 20 years.
That's what I was thinking too.
Yeah, probably about almost 25 years at this point.
Doesn't
Yeah, I think
surprise me.
what?
That doesn't surprise me at all.
No, no. Wow, it really shows our age a little, um
Yeah.
but there's this even standing the test of time, we're super close and we even went through seasons where we didn't talk to each other as much as we do now at different periods, right? Like when we were both in college and we were like for, at different colleges on top of that.
Yeah. Yeah. We really
Uh
did not stay like connected, but it's just so funny because like when you think alike and you connect with somebody, it's just so easy to kind of pick up where you left off.
yeah, yeah. And I have a couple of those friendships with others throughout different parts of my life that like you're not even friends with because you don't know them. They're a part of the town that I live in now. And but it's the same way. It's like we could go a month or two without talking, but we immediately pick up where we left off based on whatever we were talking about last, or just the same things that we have in common and the connections that we have, or what we shared together, like our life experiences that we shared together, right?
Right.
Um, so it's interesting. I do think that there's something to be said when friendship goes through, like one of the friends goes through a trial and the other friend is there for them. I think that it kind of like strengthens the bond sometimes and makes it easier
Right.
to have those conversations. Um, I've noticed that's a pattern. That's a pattern for me personally. Like my closest friends are somebody who has endured hardship with me or has been
Hmm.
there for me during hardship. Um, or that shares a common interest that really interests me, and I can't find anybody else that has that same interest.
Yeah.
So, what about you? What like your groups of friends right now? What are the biggest connecting pieces for y'all?
I mean, for us, it's like honestly the biggest, and I'm going to say this just because we hang out with these people most frequently, are our friends from the country club, the people that we have met because of our membership at the country club. Um, and growing up, I was never, my parents were never country club people. We never had a membership there. And so it wasn't necessarily something I was super used to or even prioritized. Like when Justin and I first got married, we had the opportunity to join and it was, a good deal at the time, but just the idea of that added expense, like we just decided to save money instead. But then when we moved to this house, we're so close, we had to. And I think it's been like one of Justin's like, I don't know. I don't want to say like goals in life, but I think he thrives in that kind of environment and he is not a social person at all. Like we're both like homebodies, but when it comes to the club, like he loves going and loves being a member because he loves golf. And so he has this like core group of guys that he golfs with. And then of course, naturally we all do stuff together. And they're all for the most part, all within the same like age range and have kids that are all like similar ages.
Yeah.
So that's like my main like core group of friends right now, because we see those folks all the time and we all have very similar interests and values and we align on a lot of topics, and we don't all necessarily like parent the same or think the same in some ways, but we all get along really well.
Yeah.
That's
cool.
Yeah. And then we've stayed close. Justin has stayed close with a lot of his friends from high school. And so we do see those folks, but just not nearly as often, like maybe once every 6 months.
Yeah.
Kind of a thing.
Yeah. That makes sense.
And they live close to us. So, I mean, we should, in theory, like hang out with them more, but coordinating schedules and doing all the things,
If you're not I think that's another piece of friendship. It's kind of like this idea of proximity. And when I say
yes, I'm glad you're talking about this.
Yeah, I mean, not even just not even like local proximity. I mean just proximity of life. Like the country club is your proximity, but also y'all have kids around the same age. That's a proximity of things, right? And I think that that's something too, because proximity changes throughout the year as your kids get older too, right? It might depend on the sports season that it is they're playing. So, we have a different group of friends during soccer season sometimes because we spend every weekend with them, as we do a different group of friends that play basketball together. So it's just this idea of proximity. Even though y'all might live in the same town, you're not necessarily involved in the same things. So you're connected, but it's just not as frequently as.
Right. It definitely takes more of like a conscious effort to spend time together versus friends at the club. I mean, just naturally, like for example, on Sunday, I texted a good friend, and of course Meredith was coming over. So we were going to the pool, and we're not going for like, it's not a huge event. It was just like, hey, after nap, we're going to head to the pool. If you guys make it, great. We'll be there, and they're like, oh, we're already planning on it, like, so it's just so easy. And yes, like you said, proximity. And, so the HR manager that I was really close with, that we were like HR together, sister companies, when she decided to leave the company, and it might have been like at the beginning of COVID, or I think it was like at the beginning-ish, let's just say like May-ish, when COVID first happened, she left. But she was still going to be in HR. She just went to go work with a boss that she had before. But anyway, she moved. And she said, are we going to be just friends by proximity? And that was the first time I had ever heard of that. Like, apparently it's like a thing, like it's your friends because of your proximity to each other. And to me, I interpret that as like convenience. It's convenient for us to be friends because of a common interest or proximity, or, however you want to phrase that. And so I thought that's really interesting that you just brought it up. Because she and I, we still stay connected, but like we text each other maybe like once a quarter max.
Yep. Yeah, and I think though that you said something really important about how it's got to be easy. First of all, it's a little different like if you're single or you're not married with kids yet, but like at our season of life with kids that we're raising, it's got to be easy. If it's not easy, if it's not by proximity, then it's not a true friendship, to be honest. It's like proximity by once a quarter, guess what? That's easy. If the expectation of more, which intrudes on something else that's like a priority that you're doing right now, that once again kind of puts that extra pressure and expectation of friendship on the relationship, where it's truly just supposed to be when it feels good and natural and able to do. And I think that's my my biggest observation, when I see friends, when I see groups of friends have fallouts because of these like extra pressures or expectations of getting something from the friendship that's not realistic from them in their season of life or what they may be going through. I'm really sad for that person, because it's like, man, it's supposed to be easy. It's supposed to be a connection based on truly just loving each other. And not really, I mean, that's what work is for, is expectations, or that's what, you know, it go into a business transaction. Don't put, don't give your friend a contract is kind of what I'm trying to say.
Right. And then, when people start getting upset, you get drama. And I think, and I wonder too, like I'm thinking about like just these friend groups that you're referring to and you're referencing, like, are these the kind of people that just enjoy like drama in their lives? They're trying to like stir up something,
I don't know. Fun
or it,
fact,
or
I'm not in the group, so but I've seen it from like outside looking in, or I hear about it. I'll hear about it through another friend within proximity of like, oh, well, those two people aren't friends anymore. They had a falling out over XYZ. And I'll just be like, it's really sad. But I think, and maybe somebody has felt that way towards me, but I've been always been very transparent about like, look, like if it doesn't fit within my box, because I like to compartmentalize, I'm really sorry, but you can't expect it from me. And I'm not gonna apologize for not meeting your expectations that I've been very clear about that I'll not meet.
right.
So I don't know. I don't know if maybe they thrive off the Real Housewives of the town I live in, but um I'm not in those circles. And that one experience I had was, I quickly removed myself, and guess what? There's no tension anymore, so I'm good. But
Yeah. I think it's just really funny because you think about like how we make friends over time. Like that's what I was thinking about too. Like as you were talking, I was thinking it's really interesting, like these conversations we're having about friendships as adults, you know, and how challenging it can be to make friends as an adult.
mhm.
And I guess I don't know if it's because we're getting older and we're more set in our ways and we don't want to venture out as much as we did like when we were kids. I don't know. If you think about how easy it was to make friends when you're young, you
Yeah.
know, I think that's just kind of interesting that it seems like as we get older, it gets more and more challenging.
Yeah, that's a good point too. I feel like, and it's so funny because both my girls are so different in this way. Like my oldest has several friends. Like she's got a big friend group. It's like large. There's enough love to go around for her. Like she loves to have a social group and a social life. She'll be a socialite one day. My youngest is very much kind of like me, where it's kind of like you only have like a really close few people that you kind of let in your circle, and that's really about as big as it gets. And that's only it's nothing personal towards anybody, but it's truly because those are the those are the relationships I can manage. Um,
Right.
if,
Right.
if
Because
I
it's hard. If you have like
yeah,
tons and tons of friends, like it's just so difficult to like keep up with everybody.
like sometimes I don't text you back for like hours or days. I mean,
Or
like
days. Yeah, I mean, same. Or I think I text you back and I didn't, or whatever, and it's no big deal. But I think I don't know. I mean, I think on average, the average American adult has like three close friends.
Ah, so that tracks then. Yeah, I would say that tracks for me.
Yeah, yeah, and I think, and I would think close friends are different than your friends by proximity, even too.
Yeah, yeah, I would
So,
agree.
I mean, I don't know. I thought that was interesting because for the longest time before we joined the club, I would have been like, yes, three. I definitely have like maybe three.
Yeah,
Just because I'm like you, I don't know. I just don't. Not that I'm not interested in making friends. It's just that that's just not.
I
I'm
get
just
so
not a
busy doing
social.
other things. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I'm just not super social in that way. But
yeah,
since joining the club, I mean, I definitely have way more friends. I would even put in a closer category because
yeah.
of that membership. So that's kind of interesting.
That's pretty cool too. I think everybody kind of needs their HQ of friendship though, where their core
Hmm.
relationships happen. It's the whole point of community. It's been like that since the beginning of time. I mean,
Yeah,
if it's a country club or it's like some other type of club, I can't even think right now. Like, what's the old clubs that watching
like
Bridgerton?
book
So I'm still,
club,
yeah, book
book clubs.
clubs,
I feel
like the
like was a
gentlemen's
thing.
club or the women's club or, you
Oh
know,
yeah,
um, so yeah, it is interesting. Well, I hope everybody listening has a place where they feel like their true connection of friendship happens and they can have at least three people who they really like have in their friendship circle, even if
yeah.
they're
Just
in different parts of life.
oh yeah, and just like the people that who you can just totally truly be yourself with,
Yeah, yeah,
and have like you said, and like you have that connection.
yeah. Yeah, and I would like to close with just saying like I'm super thankful that you have been one of those people for me like the whole life, even when we're not super close, like even if we're not in constant contact, I always know that like I could literally text you or call you and just be like, all right, something completely random that's probably like 3 years old, and you'll be like, yep, let's talk about it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Absolutely. And
So
I'm so thankful that we reconnected. I don't even remember like how after college, like how it all transpired, but I'm just so happy that it did.
yeah, yeah, me too. I'm super happy and thankful for it as well. And I know that it's going to be like a lifetime friendship for me. So
Absolutely. Absolutely. Supposedly if friendships last longer than like the 7 years, like there's like a 7 year rule, then you're set up to be friends for a very long time.
well, that's good. I send you those memes of this is gonna be us one day, old ladies.
Yeah.
So
After our husbands have died and because we're just too mean to die. That's what I feel like. That's where we're gonna be.
oh, I hope so. Mean and healthy enough.
Yeah.
So
Oh yeah. All the old people I know that are super old, they're kind of mean.
you're right. I can name a few right now thinking about it. Outlived everybody.
Hmm.
So
Yeah. Which
and the
is
meanness grows with age.
oh yeah. I mean like sweet as pie to certain people, but deep down kind of mean. So that's where I'll be.
Well, I look forward to doing it with you. And
Perfect.
I hope everybody has that friend.
Me too.
Awesome. Well, Salem, I think this was a nice little chat. And until next time.
Until next time.
Friends, you've got this.